MLA formatting with Microsoft Word 365. Hi everyone, today we're going to go over how you create a document using Microsoft Office 365, also how you put that document into the MLA source documentation and formatting style. So we're going to begin by going to office.com and accessing Microsoft 365. When we get into the Office 365 interface, you're going to see something that looks like this. You'll have your account information set over here, settings, things like that. Over to the left side of the screen, you're going to see a little box that goes 3 by 3. This is the app launcher. You can click this and select Word. You can also go to where it says Create, and you can choose Document. Either way will take you to the same place, so I'm going to go ahead and click Document. And then I'm going to start right away from the Home tab. I'm going to make sure that I set things to Times New Roman, size 12. That is the default for the MLA format and style. And next thing I'm going to do is make sure I go to my text alignment, make sure that I'm set to align left. There is also center and right and justify. We don't really use these. We use align left and align center a lot. So I want to make sure I'm aligned left. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over here to these 3 little dots where the more options are, and I'm going to go to where it says line spacing and select 2. Another way to do this, and probably the best way to do this, is actually to go down to where it says paragraph options and select where it says line spacing double. I'm also going to select don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. It's this option which is going to make you want to go to the paragraph dialog box instead of choosing the quick way, because this is actually important. You don't want extra space between your paragraphs. That's not following MLA style, so make sure we cut those out. We're going to click OK. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our layout, and we're going to make sure we go to margins, and this allows you a lot of different ways to do the margins. You can do them narrow, moderate, you can even do customized margins, which might be useful for a bigger, smaller document, whatever you want to do. But we're going to use the normal, which puts 1 inch at the top, bottom, left, and right, and click that. Next thing we're going to do is make sure our paper size is set to letter, make sure our orientation is set to portrait, or kind of this setting with the vertical up and down orientation. Landscape is also another orientation which goes horizontal left to right, gives you a little more room, but we use portrait for MLA, so portrait it is. All right, once we have all that set, I'm just going to click over to the Home tab. I'm going to go ahead and put in some information. Put in my name. I'll put in my professor name. I'm going to put in my course number and prefix. For this, I'm going to put in this. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my date. Now, we typically do day, month, year. Okay, and we write out the month, spell it out. We use numbers for the day and the year. Then I'm going to put my title and subtitle placeholder, and then I'm going to put a little placeholder here that says your paragraph starts here. It's just a little reminder. Now, a couple of things we need to do. First of all, we need to make sure, whoa, sorry, my trackpad's a little slick. You go ahead and highlight with your left clicker the title and the subtitle. You're going to go up right real quick here under text alignment and move it from align left to align center. And then what we're going to do with this first paragraph, which we always do to the first line of every paragraph, is we tab it. And then we go ahead and type. All right. Now, what's the deal with the title and the subtitle? Titles are like main titles. So, if we're talking about like Star Wars, if you've ever seen the Star Wars series, that would be the main title. A subtitle is kind of an extra title that gives a little more description. Something like this. All right. So, we just put our title, and then we have our paragraph starting there. Once we're done, we're halfway there. So this is what it should look like for most of your like narratives, short stories, things like that. If you're going to put them into an essay form, this is kind of the bare bones. When we start moving into source documentation and using external sources or secondary sources, we're going to have what's called a works cited page, okay? And it just says works cited. And what happens is we usually have some information from the sources we use. So we typically use like the last name of the author with a comma and then the first name of the author. Then we're going to have the title of the source or the title of the work. And then we might have things like editors or translators, and we have something like edition information, and we may also have things like the date of publication, and then we might have something like the location of the publication. That might be a web address or something like that. Now you'll notice that this is trying to justify it by spreading it across the page. We don't really want that, so what we're going to do is just make sure that that's aligned this way. What I'm going to do real quickly is just for an illustration, first I'm going to move this over. So this is how it should look laid out. I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay. Now, one of the things we have to do with the treatment of our sources and our works cited is for the works cited, the title, we're actually going to move it to the center. And for the sources, what we typically do, I'm sorry, I'm going to move that down. What we typically do is add what's called a hanging indent. Now, there's a couple different ways to do that, and I'm going to show you both. First one is I'm going to go ahead and highlight this information. So I highlight the source. I'm going to grab up here where the ruler is, and there's a little rectangle at the bottom. This is the left align ruler, or rectangle. I'm going to pull it over to the side here to 0.50, then I'm going to use this pentagon at the top, and I move that to 0. See how I did that? I'll show you one more time. I'm going to highlight the information. Whoops. It's a cold day. I think this trackpad's a little slick. That was a joke. Okay. I'm going to go here and grab my little rectangle, pull it over to 0.5, pull the pentagon to 0. Whoops, too far. There you go. All right. Now, if you want to kind of bypass playing with the ruler, there's another way to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually, again, going to highlight this information. I'm going to go up to the top here. Now, on my toolbar, I'm going to go to the Home tab, and then I'm going to go over here to More Options. And you're going to see, again, our friend Paragraph Options. I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on Special, and I'm going to click Hanging, because this is the indentation control. Then I'm going to click OK. And there it is. Looks great, doesn't it? Looks just like the ones above. Yep, great. Last thing we have to do, very, very simple. We have to add the page number inside of the header. Now, you'll be tempted to go to Insert and select Header. Don't do that. That'll put you in a world of trouble. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Insert tab. We're going to go over to where the More Options are, and there's going to be an area where it says Page Numbers. So we're going to start there. We're going to go to the one that has a page number in the upper right side. So I'm going to click that, and you'll see the page number. This is the symbol that tells the computer to put the page numbering in. What we want to do is just put our last name. So I'm just going to put my last name and one space. Then I'm going to highlight all of this. I'm going to go back up to my home, and for continuity, and also because it's required of MLA, I'm going to select Times New Roman, and then I'm going to select size 12. So it's consistent throughout the document. Now, if for some reason you need to change the numbering, there are some options here. You can remove the page numbering, remove the header, use a different first page, do even odd pages, first even odd pages, whatever you like. We don't need any of those, so I'm just showing you. Then I double click, and I'm in. Woohoo! Looks great. Now you're going to notice that the page numbers don't show up. Now the reason for that is because the computer, for some reason, likes to make them invisible, but they are there. Let me show you real quick. While I'm showing you, I can show you some features of the filing system. So if I click on File, I can create a new document. I can create a new document. I can also open documents from previous work. Under more file options, I can show information about this document, which I'm not going to do, and save. When I save as, I can retitle this document. So I'm just going to call this MLA thing. And then I'm going to save it, and you'll see that it renames it up at the top. Again, everything you do while you're typing in here is auto-saved. You can check on the version history. It'll show you previous versions and stopping points, and you can go and you can actually reload those, which is actually really wonderful. Again, under File, under More Options, back to the Save As. You can also save it online. You can rename the file. You can save a copy, which might be useful if you have a template of some kind. You can also download it as a PDF. Now, the PDF is actually the preferred submission for my classes. So, yeah, just so you know. You can also download as an ODT. Now, ODT is a type of file formatting that's used for an open source Office application, and a lot of companies actually use ODTs. I've never used one, but I know that they're out there somewhere. We can also export as a web page. You can export it to a PowerPoint presentation. Might be useful later. You can also go to print. Of course, you print it. This also gives you the option not only to print to regular conventional printer, but you can also save it as a PDF here if you like. Most systems will allow you to do that, not all. Oops. And then you can also share this. If you want to share, you click share with people, put the email of the person you want to share with, and identify if you want them to edit it, that is, be available to make changes, only be able to suggest changes, and then if they want to view, and then there's some link settings here. Under the link settings, you can choose specific people, identify people with access, and then people within the network. You can also block them from downloading it, and again, specify which role you want them to play. All right. Great. Okay, some other little features since we're here. I'm going to go down here real quick and just type in some rubbish words here. All right, so I got some rubbish words. These are just to illustrate some different effects that we can use on our text. So if I highlight the, that trackpad is so slippery. It's like a seashell or something. All right, so I can click the bold here to bold. I hide italicize, underline, and I can do any number of different font options. I can do strike through, superscript, and subscript, which are useful for mathematics. I can highlight things, change the font color, and clear the formatting as well. I can also add bullet points. I can add numerical lists if I like. I can also define new bullet points. Again, change the alignment. I can also change the styling. Now, the styling is useful for accessibility purposes. It's also useful if you're going to use this document to create a web page. But I'm just going to clear the formatting there. And then you can also find and replace. If you want to find something to replace, you can find it, put it in there. Maybe you misspelled a word, maybe you used the wrong, capitalization, something like that. You can find and replace. This wonderful, indispensable tool. Some other wonderful things here. You can do the dictate, which everybody loves. Let me show you the dictate. Dictate will actually dictate what you say and turn it into print. So it is a wonderful tool if you're not very good at typing. So let me just get rid of this here, and we'll go to dictate, and let me show you how fast and responsive and basically how this works. So if I click on dictate, it turns on, period. I really like the dictate function for Microsoft 365, period. It is a wonderful addition to this application, period. I also like that it has many different available functions. Colon, adding punctuation, comma, putting words onto the paper, just as fast as I can type them, comma, and helping me to write in general, period. So that is the dictation function. It's really great. It does have some problems, as you can see. You probably have to go through and read and change things. And again, see if, one thing I'm having problems with is this is actually lying to me. So I have an element here, a comma, I have another element here, and it's asking me to not have the comma there, which is actually incorrect. You can't trust the grammar function on Microsoft Word. It only works about like 65 to 70% of the time, and trust yourself is what I guess I'm saying. Take its suggestions with a grain of salt. Anyway, more about 365. This has extensive methods of inserting things like tables. You can make a table here, or you can insert the table by telling it how many columns and rows you need. You can do pictures, you can put them in. You can do a drawing. Drawings are great. I love doing drawings. You just put a little, select an implement here. And then you can make the thickness bigger. And then there you go, something like that. You save and close, and it just puts it right in there, and you can delete it if you want or keep it. You can even resize it. It's pretty neat. You can also add comments, which is part of the review function. You can add comments for other readers that'll go in here on the margins, and then you could use those comments to make corrections. A lot of teachers, professors tend to do that, which is great. There's also the header and footer function, which we talked about. I don't really use that often. And then equations. Now, we do use equations. You might actually have to write a paper in math. Welcome to the professional world in college. So you would do something like this, put your numericals thing, find the symbol that you want. So if I was going to do like, equal to or not equal to, just put that. I hit insert on the page, and it puts it there. And then I put like 5 or something like that to make it real and rational. In some cases, you may have to talk about percentages or something like that. So, you might do something like this, where you have like percentage of error. You might put like plus or minus 5%, things like that. So these are all useful symbols. There's other kinds of symbols that can be useful as well. So for example, if we're talking Microsoft 365, that's actually a product that's trademarked, registered. So you might, put something like that. If you have that, or if you have like a title and the title's, copyrighted, you can add the copyright sign. There's, monetary values. There's a euro, there's the pound, there's the yen, alpha, beta, pi, omega, I think it's a sigma is what it is, and then delta, and then degree sign. So if you're doing like temperature calculations, like 98 degrees, does that age me? All right, get rid of that. And then there's some other functions. You can add links if you want to make this a living document online, as like a web page. You can add videos, page numbers, emojis, and then there's these add-ins. The add-ins are actually really useful. If I click add in here, I can actually find applications within the application, or what we call sub-applications. So I can add like a Wikipedia script to run. I can do like DocuSign. I can do other symbols and characters, emoji keyboard, all kinds of wonderful things. I really like the lucid charts. So if I add it, I just go through and do that. I select the things and can go up here. It's going to ask me to sign in and stuff, but basically when I'm ready to use it, I just go here. I can insert a diagram. It'll ask me to log in with an account, and then I can put in all kinds of cool little diagrams and drawings and things like that, which are great. When I'm ready to manage that add-in, I can go to add-in here. I can find Lucid, hit the 3 dots, and I can actually remove it if I need to, or get details or whatever I like. And other things, I can play with the layouts, margins, page orientation. We talked about the size, spacing. I'm not too worried about. References, I don't really use this unless I'm using like Chicago manual style source documentation system. They require footnotes, sometimes endnotes. And then of course there's review. You can do word count. Some professors, some teachers want things a specific amount of words. This will actually tell you how many words, how long it takes to read it, to speak it, things like that. This will also check accessibility options, if this is readable on special access readers for people with disabilities, and challenges, things like that. There's also the commentary we use for review. You can add a comment. If you need to make a comment to somebody who's writing the paper, maybe peer review, something like that, you can do that. You can also delete all the comments, resolve the comments, add comments, track the comments, just yours or everyone else's. And I would hope you'd play with this and just kind of check it out, maybe you and another student, or if you like. And then of course there's the views. You can change the views, engage the navigation. It'll work with the headings and things like that. And then there's header and footer. And then there's dark mode. Some people like it in the dark. Personally, I like to be able to see it a little bit better in the light. So yeah, whichever way. And you can change the rulers, go to the immersive reader if you need to, if you need that. And and in terms of, whoops. Uh-oh. Hello, computer. It doesn't like me. There we go. In terms of, again, saving, sharing, embedding, we have all those options. But yeah, that's basically Microsoft Word. And let's show you the quick and dirty way to create a nice MLA document with some limitations. So I like to do it the manual way, just as I'd shown you here, putting in your information, putting in the title, putting in the headers and things like that. Some people like to use the other way. What is the other way? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go to Microsoft Word. And when you go to create new, or when you go to new document within Word, it'll show you templates, and you can use these templates. There's a ton of them. You can make reports and resumes and all kinds of wonderful things. But there's one here that says MLA style paper. You're more than welcome to use this. I don't recommend it, but it's great. It's gotten lots of nice little notes here for you, and you just basically type in your information. So, whoa. I'm going to put in my name. I have to bring this back up. It's not the most friendly thing to use. And then, of course, it's pushing things down as I type. And you replace, of course, the text and things like that. Now, one thing to note is that this is MLA 7. We're up to MLA 9 right now. And Microsoft hasn't quite caught up with that yet. But if you go down to the bottom here, you'll notice a couple of errors. Yeah, first of all, when you have works cited, it's not indented over. It's actually highlighted and centered. So that's one. Also, when we're doing these kinds of citations, all the citations are different. This punctuation here is actually changed, and also how these things are lined up. So these are actually incorrect. We also don't put the medium like print in there anymore. So yeah, just be careful with that. Anyway, this is a great resource. I like using the resources I have in my class. If I were you, I'd probably do that. Otherwise, there you go. This is Microsoft Office Word 365.